moving on to round number 4. Again, Eats, Beats, and Rhymes is the channel. Who do you guys the show? Tonight we're talking about legendary groups, A Tribe Called Quest versus OUTKAST. We do this live every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you check us out, tune in. Everybody in the chat room, shout out to y'all. By the way, everybody in the chat room, if anybody wants to jump in, let us know. We put you on camera. Make sure you camera ready.
The Douglas Hauser brings up a good point.
Say,
he says, other than Dave, who else from Native Tongues was on the Tribe album?
Other than
Dave from De La Soul. Who else was on the Tribe album?
You know what's crazy? I heard about that De La Soul thing. How is De La never on a fucking Tribe album?
I think he has a really good point.
But hold on, I'm gonna say another thing too. Was Mos Def down with them too at some point with the Native Tongues?
I mean, loosely affiliated.
Probably loosely affiliated.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't even know where that affiliation came from. Like.
But I'm going to him
and Kweli, I think.
I'm going to argue for a second because we need to clarify based on what Douglas Hauser said in the chat. Who else from Native Tongues was on the Tribe album to be able to include them in this question?
Oh, the technicality.
Answer the question, damn it.
Okay.
Fair enough. Who's that? Dewey Hauser?
Yes.
Hold on. One second.
Doctor.
Philly.
Check it out.
Strictly De La or Native Tongues?
No, who else from Native Tongues was on a Tribe album? Justin Anthony says Scenario.
Busta definitely was.
The Scenario, which had
Scenario, right?
And Leaders of the New School, exactly. There you go. And Busta was featured later on other records.
Yeah, so Busta and LONS. Who else?
What was Buddy
Consequence? On? If you use Consequence,
he's. I mean, but he's a part of Tribe though. We just covered that.
That's isn't that Q? That's Q-Tip's cousin, isn't it?
Yeah.
He went to school with us, by the way. I don't know.
Yeah, he went to high school with us. Yeah.
Go ahead, keep on.
What was Buddy on?
De La Soul.
But that don't count.
It does count because again, Dave is on a war tour.
Whoa. You said
right
in context of these 6 albums. That's what you said.
So War Tour is one of the 6 albums.
Buddy, Trip asked about.
I didn't say Buddy.
Trip said Buddy. Trip said Buddy. I said Buddy's on the
Buddy doesn't count for sure.
Right. So Dave and LONS. Who else?
Busta as a solo artist.
What song?
Because they sample the Love Movement. Hold on a minute.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you have.
Thank you, Douglas Hauser, because I'm about to change my answer.
That round pass, it carried. That round pass already.
The total's been scored, baby.
Pass already, man.
The total's been scored, baby. You don't get to be a boxer and say, "Hold on, you punched me under the belt," and someone calls the 3rd round. Punch under the belt, but you on round 5. Baby, I still run the show here, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Change my answer, son.
Listen, the question is, were there any members of Native Tongues involved in any Tribe Called Quest albums? I just gave you 3, so yes, there's the answer.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
I mean, the answer is yes. There are.
The answer is yes.
But we still got to find out if Mos Def was down with him, because I know he was running behind the Tribe before they got really put on, before like Lyricist Lounge and all of that, because that's when.
I think he was friends with them. I mean, because you could say he was part of the Bush Babies of that too, because he did like a bunch of stuff with the Bush Babies. So I think he was just, like you said, trying to get his grind. He got his own push when his solo stuff was coming up through Raucous, and he was an actor. He was doing a bunch of shit. So that's Mos Def. Yasin Bey, respectfully.
I can't change my answer for you, Drew. I'm changing my answer in the chat room. Damn it.
Listen, again, you before I read out the official answer for the round, the total that y'all came up with, it's already in the books. It's literally in the books, baby. You know what I'm saying? It's in the books.
Fair.
Malcontent, you're right. Most was on those 2 De La records.
De La records?
But we not
De La records.
Okay.
You seem a little frustrated there tonight, Hobo, right?
Yeah, we gotta move on before Hobo
I
busts.
came to this prepared to argue because I knew I was going to be the only one, including everybody in the damn chat room. So I came to argue and argue well.
And Hobo, let me just give you props. By the way, you're holding your own, and I hope I'm playing devil's advocate enough to to sort of.
Get him out of Guinness now for let him calm down now, boy.
Oh boy. Oh boy. So fellas, moving on to round number 4. When we're talking about a Tribe Called Quest versus OutKast. Again, who do you got, right? I decided to ask a question that usually gets asked around here when it comes to these kind of, setups. But I wanted to change things up a little bit, just a smidge. So fellas, when we talk about a Tribe Called Quest versus OutKast, there's a long list of albums that we've been talking about all night. I want to take 2 of those albums and have them go head for head. Pause. And I'm not even gonna pick the albums that you think I'm gonna pick.
Okay.
When it comes to Tribe Called Quest versus OutKast, who had the best third album?
Uh-oh.
Midnight Marauders versus AQUEMINI.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
Exactly.
Oh
So,
shit.
Let's
Boy,
just
oh boy.
let's just again just real quickly. Let's just let's talk.
Hold on. Go ahead. I'm listening. Hold on.
Let's talk about Midnight Marauders. All right.
Yes. Okay.
Does anybody want to start? Because I feel like I don't need to say shit. Does anybody just want to give their finest moments or their highest highlighted moments of Midnight Marauders, and then we can go on to
Against what?
Against AQUEMINI. I was about to say, see, I did say it wrong. AQUEMINI. I keep saying AQUEMINI, which we're gonna cover it right now too. I'm getting my notes together, so I'll tell you all about AQUEMINI in a second. But does anybody want to go first? Does anybody want? And I'm go first when we're talking about Midnight Marauders. Let's talk about Midnight Marauders first.
I mean,
yeah, Midnight.
Props is due. Midnight Marauders was an incredibly dope album. I will say that for me personally, it did get overshadowed a little bit by the 36 Chambers.
Oh wow! Stab. Hold it.
I caught that.
Stab on the play.
I caught that.
Stab on the play.
You're talking about a previous Who Do You Got battle that will be showing up soon.
Stab on the play.
But you gotta go. Oh my God!
Yes. Oh my God! Today, damn it!
Your marketing skills, Hobo. Your marketing skills. That was a nice alley-oop. Thank you. That was good.
Yeah, but Midnight against the OutKast album, I think Midnight wins on this one.
Okay, well, Triple C, I'm glad you gave your answer, and thank you. We're not ready. I wasn't collecting answers yet, but I will give you a second chance, only because I want to go over some notes about each particular album. For example, I know you probably, Triple C, I know you pretty well. I'm pretty sure you don't have that much information on AQUEMINI. Am I safe to assume that?
I'm trying to look at the track listings against track listing for Midnight Marauders.
That's fantastic.
Midnight Marauders have a lot of gems.
I mean, yo, to be honest, we played AQUEMINI when we were at school, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're familiar then. So I was gonna say, because I know you can read each track listing, but like, are you listening? Is the question. I know you know.
I would listen
we
to
all know
Midnight.
Midnight Marauders inside out, but
Midnight
we're talking about.
You got a war tour. You got Sucker Nigga. You got a whole bunch of classics.
Oh my God!
Again, you really are standing your ground, and I respect it 100%.
Joint.
But we're also talking about this album has classics, just singles. I'm not even talking about the rest of the album cuts. You're talking about Rosa Parks. The first like breakout kind of song where it was like, what's going on over here? And the sound was changing at this time.
Yeah.
Personal favorite of mine was more of a B-side, but they released it as an A-side, a couple of times as far as like, DJ copies. Skewed on the Barbie, you fucking with Raekwon.
Raekwon, yeah.
That shit was the first time, not the first time that the East got with the South, obviously, but that was their first time, I think, getting together with the East Coast.
I believe so.
With the Woo. Hobo's group.
It's Raekwon. It's fucking Raekwon. It was a perfect matchup. It's a good A&R move. It makes
that was good.
True, but still,
you know what I'm saying?
Doesn't still hold to my Midnight Marauders.
And that's fine. Again, stand on your milk crate. Don't go up the milk crate. Just stand on your milk crate and hold your ground. I understand that.
Lyrics to go.
Lyrics to go is don't even get me started. Siemens. I got the Siemens couch. So you got the Spotty Odie double Spotty Odie. I can't even say it. Spotty Odie Dopalicious. I got people hitting me on the phone telling me, you know, AQUEMINI, no question, easily. Again, I think it's all about listening back in hindsight, as well as remembering those moments of when you first heard them growing up, right?
That's fair. That's fair.
I tend to go gut feeling off of a first listen, because radio and the industry has a point of, if they bang it enough times, eventually, like, this shit ain't that bad. And that's not a good look. I still go, okay, as much as I like it now, my first instinct was I wasn't that crazy about it. So, again, your first instinct growing up is probably not really, maybe, again, us East Coast guys, not Hobo in the room, more of a Tribe Called Quest leaning situation versus, you know, and AQUEMINI. However, what I'm also starting to learn by doing a lot of research for this show is that I think a lot of our, and I'm talking to all the East Coast guys in the room, and Hobo, you fall into this too, technically. You're an East Coast guy as well. East Coast Southern guy. Whatever that means. But I think
East South.
But this was, I guess I'm gonna just say this more for the New York guys in the room. I think a lot of our favorite classics were only classics to us, and not the rest of them.
I think that's fair, but I mean, depending on what you were saying your classics are.
Right, no, absolutely. And I think, because like I said, some of the feedback I'm getting is like, you know, people like are telling me OUTKAST over this trap thing. And
well, let me chime in right here, and I'm gonna chime in based off of what Philly's saying, because I kind of agree. And I mentioned all the time.
What is Philly saying, by the way?
Philly basically says these two crews are totally regional, because this really comes down to preference. As much as I love the OUTKAST joint, everything being equal, I always go to New York East Coast hip hop, and I agree with them, because you have to remember at this time in hip hop, everything was about the region in hip hop, where if you look at hip hop now, everything sounds the same. Right. But hip hop back then, New York was New York, West Coast is West Coast, OUTKAST in the South was starting to come up. And then even separate from OUTKAST, you have Miami bass, which is still the South, but it was totally separate. So it was really about where you were from at the time in hip hop, because that's gonna lend to whatever you like. Because if you're from Miami, you fucking with that bass, you fucking with DJ Laz, and you fucking with all of that. You know what I mean? So
if you're from the Bay, you got a whole different sound you fucking with. And if you're
from
Cali, you got that P-Funk.
So I agree 100%, and I say it all the time. Like, it's kind of what you had access to, right? So things like radio. At this time, I think BET was on the come up, which is an important factor at this point. So whatever you had access to at the time was going to begin to shape your palate a little bit more, depending upon what coast you were from. So it's the reason why, like, because we were just saying around this time when AQUEMINI came out, we were in school upstate. You know what I mean? So this was coming up. BET was getting shine. A lot more things was starting to come out, you know, in the region. So our classics being from New York, which we're Queens Tribe people, so we're always gonna have that bias, so to speak. But I could say 100%, we were playing AQUEMINI when the shit came out.
Hard body.
You know what I'm saying?
Or some standout tracks. Let's talk about it. Like I said, because I'm not counting the votes yet. I know which way the votes are leaning, obviously, which way we think, but let's talk about it. You guys have personal experience listening to these albums in college, which means you were in a room at a college age, you're at a certain zone, especially hip hop. You're drinking, you're smoking, you're listening to that shit with your fellas. Like, so, like, what went on?
Spotty Odie skewed on the John Raekwon, skewed on the Barbie. Though to me, those are the two of my favorite. But there was another one I'm
the storytelling of Slick Rick.
That was fire.
That was fire.
Yes. Yeah, that was
fire. I'm about to bring that up.
And that was a single and with a video.
Yeah, it was a part 1 and a part 2.
Yeah.
So obviously I wasn't in college. But, I was just gonna say you Scan, when you were talking about, you know, it being regional, I think that's one of the things that, you know, not growing up in New York and being in New York, that from a hip hop perspective, I think that growing up where I grew up, I was exposed to like everything. So I got to see the South. I got to hear Ghetto Boys we were talking about earlier. I got to, you know, Scarface, like the first Scarface song, Mr. Scarface, is still my most favorite songs ever. And, you know, West Coast. So for me to hear and see OUTKAST come out and have something to say to in what Three Stacks said at the Source Awards, it was crazy for me, man. It was.
Yo,
I'll add to Hobo real quick. Let me add to Hobo real quick. I would say it makes sense because earlier I'm the last in the order of my family. So, like I said, my sister went to college in Virginia, and my brother, when he came to this country, grew up in North Carolina. Right. So because of traveling, I was able. That's how I know when you go to DC, when you go to Virginia, now the radio different. And like when we be in that area, they'd be playing, of course, go-go and the different styles within every. So that's how I kind of got a little bit more exposed to shit. In addition, so that's why sometimes like I'll always have my Queens bias, but I'm also still open to the music because I know those records based off of my older siblings.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add something to what both you guys are saying. Even because you were like in the DMV area, Virginia, though, and it's not even that far away from New York, but it's just a totally different sound. It's just like you go 3 hours, 4 hours,
right?
South, and it's like something totally different. And if you go to like Ohio, they're probably listening to something far different from what they listen to. They're probably listening to more West Coast.
More West Coast shit.
So it's just crazy when you really sit down and think about it like that. And these places are not even that far from New York. Driving off, so it's like it's just a different region. So
yeah, especially like if you were in that Rust Belt of like Buffalo, Pittsburgh, like that area. It was weird to me when I first understood, but there's still like a lot of West Coast out there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just to add on to everything that we're talking about at the moment, I mean, again, we're talking about a national perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to those, those two particular albums, who do you think was getting more radio play around the country?
Oh, around the country, definitely OUTKAST.
Definitely OUTKAST. Definitely OUTKAST.
This is why I stressed the whole portion about
definitely
us
OUTKAST.
Being so heavy leaning ATCQ. But you got dudes like Hobo, people chiming in on my phone, people in the chat room, I don't know how they're feeling, but OUTKAST is not that obvious to them like a Tribe for them as it is to easily say, you crazy? This is fucking OUTKAST. Like, are you out of your mind? So it's also different eras, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about
95 versus 99.
There you go. So we're looking at what a 4-year gap.
Yeah.
It's a whole present.
and a big gap musically.
Yes.
Musically for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure. So it's interesting. So okay. So we talked about that. We basically laid out a lot of the important parts about both these albums. I put it out to the room again.
So you can't really judge.
Well, we have to, but kind of have to. That's the point of the show. But I put this to you real quick. Do you want to hear anything in particular, like maybe the art of storytelling?
I like Return of the G.
Return of the what now?
Return of the G.
Return of the G. I don't got that. Anybody got that on deck? Either way.
That shit's hard.
That's hard. It is so hard. Listen, so keep that in mind when I ask the question. Midnight Marauders versus AQUEMINI. I almost said that wrong again. AQUEMINI. And not based, we're trying not to look at it too much from like an era-based situation because of the 4-year age gap. But we're talking about it more from like a third album perspective. They both debuted heavy, right? Mm-hmm. They both came out fucking just killing it. All right. For example, Tribe's first album is the first album ever to get 5 mics in the Source. The Source we talk about now with a bit of sort of like but let's be clear: the Source at the time when it was what it was the Bible of this shit.
True. Yeah. True.
They said something, then it was what it was, straight up and down.
True.
Just like I said, just to give you an idea of the level of experience that both these guys have come with on their first albums. The first album for these guys, OUTKAST, it's a legendary album. They both just proceed to go on dropping classic after classic after classic. But you had that sophomore jinx. They both conquered that. And then you have your third album, which a lot of us in the industry look at as like, well, what the fuck now? What do you do in your third album? And most of the time you expect the change up. And if it happens occasionally on the second album, it's a real gamble. because everybody kind of knows what they want from you on the second album because they got it on their first. On the third, you can run the risk of like it's the same shit from the first and second album.
True.
You have Tribe who kind of does what on Midnight Marauders, sort of stays true to their sound, but just do we want to say establish it more, sort of like nail the nail in the coffin, going like this is our fucking sound, we're not changing up.
And they mastered it with Midnight Marauders. Is that what you're saying?
Right, because that's what I kind of feel. I feel like it's their sound. And then you have AQUEMINI, which is they were already even from 18 Aliens starting to change their sound up.
I would agree with that.
And with Bombs Over Baghdad and Rosa Parks alone.
I would agree.
Hip hop wise, I never heard no shit like that. It was like, what the fuck are they doing? And it was like, it's dope too. Like,
I would agree that
even with Andre looking crazy at this point, this is when he started to look crazy.
Tribe definitely mastered that sound with Midnight Marauders.
They kept their sound, I feel like.
But I will say as well, and doing my research as well, AQUEMINI also got 5 mics.
Yeah, I was gonna get my man. Yes, it should. It did.
5 mics.
Yes, sir.
It did.
I mean, granted, the argument could maybe be made that the source was getting a little watered down at that point. Maybe I don't know.
I wouldn't say that. Not in 90.
I wouldn't say that either. I would say it's two different. It's almost two different eras at this point because even
AQUEMINI, I'm still reading the source in 99. It's 99.
No. But it's kind of like 95 versus 99 to me. Respectfully, even though it's 4 years, it's kind of a big discrepancy at this point because even touching on it, I remember jungle music being big like around 97, 98, 99. And even how that kind of contributed to certain things. You know what I mean? So at this time, in my opinion, you're coming out of the strictly boom bap era, going into jungle, live musicians. Now it's changing once again. Like I always say in the past shows, like it's changing once again. And this is the shift at the time.
Right. Malcontent brings up a good point in the chat room. He said Midnight Marauders didn't get 5 mics initially.
Well, Midnight Marauders didn't get 5 mics at all. I was talking initially about the first album.
Oh yeah, People's Instinctive Travels did.
It's the first album period to get 5 mics in the source. They hadn't even given it out at that point yet. Another little trivia nugget just for you guys out there. When they dropped Low End Theory, 5 mics as well. So I don't know how many groups or bands or artists out there have more than one. Again, doesn't really mean much these days, but in that era.
Right. That was a big deal back then.
Big deal. It was the Rolling Stone of
that was a big deal.
And if you wanted a 4, you were super duper grateful for a 4.5.
If you got 5,
nobody got 5. So it was like 4.5 was the 5 until someone Tribe, your OUTKAST, your Nas's of the world eventually pull the 5 card, Mike, and make that happen. But listen, we got to start wrapping things up eventually. Let's keep it moving here. We have examined the sounds of both of these albums and their eras. I respectfully get back to the question, and I'm gonna go by each individual person here because we got to get to the next very last question. DJ Hobo, where do you stand? Midnight Marauders versus AQUEMINI.
AQUEMINI, please see my previous answer.
There you go, DJ Hobo. Stating what he stated. Scantastico, where do you stand?
Tribe
is in the books. Triple C, how's it looking?
Yeah, I'm still sticking to I said it first.
I just wanted to give you a chance to give your answer the correct time that it needed, and I didn't want to see you try to pull a card like Hobo did earlier. Trying to retract. Trying to retract around here.
You gotta,
but we don't retract no statements around here. We don't print a rebuttal in the next issue. All right.
Yeah, mark that Delaney card. Mark that Delaney card.
Cool breeze. When it comes down. You're an important voter. I just want you to understand that. Okay? When it comes down to Midnight Marauders versus AQUEMINI, who do you got?
Just off that cover alone, man. The iconic Queen's cover.
You're talking about the album cover, yes. Album cover is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
I could have sworn you was gonna go with OUTKAST.
That's what he just texted me and said OUTKAST, but he wants us.
I
And
So you
deleted.
gonna jump ship, Breeze? That was going on. You jumping
No,
ship?
I'm gonna go with. You funny, old boy. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Midnight Marauders.
Oh.
Even though, but to be honest, close neck and neck, bro. Because that
absolutely.
AQUEMINI album, we were bumping that shit
We
hard.
bumping that shit.
Yeah.
And that joint was fire too. But it's like slight margin, bro. Slight.
It's a slight margin. I believe you. I mean, again, it's a hard battle to begin with. That's why we choose.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah,
we do this every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check us out. Eats, Beats, and Rhymes is the name of the channel. Who Do You Got is the name of the show. Tonight we're talking about A Tribe Called Quest versus OUTKAST.